Ki Jai Jan Vishnupad Paramahansa Parivrikacharya Stotra Sat Shri Shriman, His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai Shri Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai Shri Radha Shyam Ki Jai Shri Krishna Balaram Ki Jai Gaurnitai Ki Jai Grantara Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Sri Sri Guru and Gauranga. Srila Prabhupada Ki. Hare Krishna. Good morning to all of you. It's always good to start the day with the Srimad Bhagavatam class. Hare Krishna. It is indeed a pleasure to be here in this very holy place, the holiest of all the places, Sri Vrindavan Dham. And I'm here on a mission. I serve as a global minister for cow protection and agriculture, and we started visiting our main projects. So I did Mayapur, and now I'm visiting Vrindavan Dham and the Goshala. So I'd like to express my gratitude to the management for hosting us here, for facilitating our service, and we hope this is a successful endeavor. Prabhupada wanted exemplary Goshalas in India. He says, he personally wrote, I want an exemplary Goshala in India, in Mayapur first, and then Vrindavan. So we're here to assist in whatever capacity we can. So, we'll go to the Srimad Bhagavatam class. Om Namo... Okay, sorry, this is Chaitanya Charitamrita class. I'm sorry, just to have it. But you do say Om Namo, no, you say Jai Jai Sri Chaitanya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So we're reading from Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita Adi Lila, chapter 2, verse 98. And the title is Lord Chaitanya, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So the text says, I should say, Jaya Jaya Sri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Jaya Sri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. So a verse says today, Amcha Shaktya Vishyarupe Dui Vidavatara Valya Pauganda Dharma Duita Prakara Amcha Shaktya Vishyarupe Dvividavatara Valya Pauganda Dharma Duita Prakara. Devotees would like to repeat? Valya Pauganda Dharma Duita Prakara. Amsa Shakya Vesharupe Jui Vavatara Valya Pauganda Dharma Duite Prakara Amsa Shakya Vesharupe Jui Vidavatara Bale Paugandadu. Mataji's? Amsha Saktava Sharupe Dvividavata. Bale Paugandharma Duita Tapaka. Amsa Saktava Sharupe Dvividavata. Bale Paugandharma Duita Prakara. Bhaya Paugandada Madhuita Prakara. Okay. So, Amsha of the plenary expansion, Shakyavish of the empowered, Rupe in the forms, Dvividha, two kinds, Avatar, incarnation, Balya, childhood, Poganda, boyhood, Dharma, characteristics of age. Dui, two. Ta, certainly. Prakara, kinds. Translation. His incarnations are of two kinds, namely partial and empowered. He appeared in two ages, childhood and boyhood. So let's repeat that. His incarnations are of two kinds, namely partial and empowered. He appears in two ages, childhood and boyhood. Let's see what Prabhupada wrote on this in his purport. The Vilasa forms are 6 in numbers. Incarnations are of two varieties, namely Shakyavish, empowered, and Amshavish, partial. These incarnations also come within the category of Prabhav and Vaibhav, manifestation. Childhood and boyhood are two special features of the personality of Godhead Sri Krishna. But his permanent feature is his eternal form as an adolescent youth. The original personality of Godhead Sri Krishna is always worshipped in this eternal adolescent form. Srila Prabhupada ki. It says that concisiveness is the epitome of eloquence. Prabhupada in such a short purport has defined so much. Om Gyanam Timirandasya Gyanam Janam Chalakaya Chakshur Anmilitanyena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Sri Chaitanya Manobhistam Istapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vanchakalpa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Hare Krishna. So here we are looking at some very technical aspects of expansions and manifestations of Krishna, which can become very complex for us to understand. And just to give a short background, in this chapter, the second chapter, the author, Krishnadas Kaviraj, is attempting to establish Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu as none different from Sri Krishna. It's a debate which has been going on in India for a long time, and recently, with the Sankirtan movement, that debate has been clarified. And the Sankirtan devotees, and all of you, Srila Prabhupada disciples and disciples of Srila Prabhupada disciples, have been showing in every village and town that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is none different from Krishna himself. So it's something that is familiar to all of you. But here the author is very meticulously trying to show how that is so philosophically. So in this chapter, you see in the previous verses, he has been bringing different substance evidence of Shastra to embase his argument that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is actually Krishna. And right in the description of this chapter, right in the first introduction in this book, in the last line, there is a little explanation why this is important. Why is it important for us who are trying to attain love of God, Prema Bhakti, to understand the incarnations of God? Many times we see all these names, Prabhav, Vilas, and it's not clear on our mind. Is it so? Sometimes what is the Prabhav, what's the Vilas manifestation? How is it connected? Where does it come from? It can become a little bit bewildering. But he's explaining to us, but now here it's explaining why he's doing that. So I'm going to tell you why. Would you like to hear why it's important? Yes? For sure? Okay. So the last line says, this chapter stresses that a devotee who wishes to advance in Krishna consciousness, then there's a little modal verb, must have knowledge of Krishna's personal form. So note down his personal form, his three principal energies, his pastimes, and the relationship of the living entity with him. So this chapter is trying to bring us down to know that if you really want to advance in Krishna consciousness, you need to know these four elements. And in this chapter, he's philosophically showing us how to tell everyone that Krishna is actually, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is actually Krishna. So there are many verses in this chapter where he is actually showing that, and he just on verse 22 make his statement. He says, that Govinda personally appear as Chaitanya Goshani. No other Lord is as merciful in delivering the fallen souls. So now he stated his thesis, and he's going to prove it. And he's not only brought the element that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is none different from Govinda, but Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is the most merciful in delivering the fallen souls, which is our mission. Our mission statement of ISKCON is that we should go and preach the message of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So here is our mission statement, because he's the most merciful form of Krishna. I'm just bringing to refresh our memories. Maybe it's a long time since Chaitanya Charitamrita was read here, and you didn't get to follow some of the logic. So I'm trying just to retrieve it quickly. Yes. Now in verse 70, the author brings his statement. And his statement is, all the incarnations of Godhead are plenary portions or parts of the plenary portions of the Purusha avatars. But the primeval Lord is Sri Krishna. He is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the fountainhead of all incarnations. He made his statements. And right, here's a big debate. Someone says, you say that, but for me, Narayana is the source and Krishna is the incarnation of Narayana. So he proves through linguistics how Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. At this point, just as an illustration, when we look at the expansions of Krishna, Krishna is said to be Swayam Bhagavan, Swayam Rupa, the original Krishna. That is the most and the easiest form to understand God. And actually, if you see, Krishna is the simplest. He's living in Vraj as a cowherd man. And his dealings are very relational. Not so much Brahminical discussions in Varanasi, but he's here in Vraj, presenting his philosophy in a very practical and simple way. And it is Leonardo da Vinci who makes a statement, simplicita et ultimum ruditat, which means simplicity is the topmost, his word is complexity. Simplicity is the topmost complexity. Because simple means it can work anywhere. Complex can only work in very specific situations. Like you have these electronic things. It only works if your mobile cannot be read at the airport, you can't get in. It's very complex. Then you have to go back to the airline, they print another thing. It's very complex. But simple is very simple. Krishna plays his flute, all his cows come to Terkadamba. Very simple. He calls them by names, different groups come. So his tracking system, his reporting systems is all very simple. His knowledge transmitting systems is all very simple. A guru for a disciple, for a disciple for a guru. Today we have such a complex technological things. So with this statement, Leonardo da Vinci is bringing something which is quite spiritual. So the Swayamrup form is the easiest form to understand Krishna, because there he's available to interact with all the associates in a very sweet and mellow way in 5 different rasas. Then there is the Swayam Prakash, which is an expansion of Krishna. And the next one from that is his Vilas Prakash, which is Balaram. So he expands into Balaram. And from Balaram, then you have the Tad Ekatma, which then expands into Swansha, which is today's topic, his empowered manifestations, and the Shakti Avatar, a Jiva who is empowered by the Lord. And you have the Vilas coming from the Tad Ekatma, which is Prabhav Vilas and Vaibhava Vilas. This is the Chatuvyuha. This chart is available on ISKCON Desire Tree. You can just see it. It's for me, it's so educational to look in a very simple way. And now from the Swansa expansion of Krishna, you have all these different categories, which is the Lila Avatar, Purusha Avatar, his Guna Avatar, and now it goes in the Shaktivish, which is the Shaktivish Avatar, and the Vibhuti, which is basically the demigods. They have a reflection of Krishna's power. Krishna says in the 10th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, I am Indra, and he explains the different devas which he is. So for me, it was very educational to look at it in a simple chart and to see, this is the flow, how it's coming. In today's verse, specifically, we are discussing about, we are basically discussing about 2 things. His incarnations is of 2 kinds. Swansha and Shaktivish, Swansha Avatar and Shaktivish Avatar. And he's describing this, and he's specifically talking about childhood and boyhood. To go back in the Swayam Bhagavam Krishna, which is the topic of the verse, of the chapter. Krishna, when he expands into the different dancers in the rasa dance, that's Prabhava Prakash. He's expanding his form. When he expands as the different Krishnas in Dwarka, he's also expanding. And also, in the pastime where Brahma is bewildered, and he expands himself into the cowherd boys and the calves, in the purport, the word Prabhava is used. So that's indicating that Krishna also himself expanded in those forms. That's why they became so attractive to the calves and to the mothers. The mothers were enjoying more their sons than Krishna. So for a moment they thought, wait a moment, am I in Maya? Krishna is there, I'm more attracted to this boy than actually I'm attracted to Krishna. So to understand all these incarnations can be very complex. It requires a lot of studies, and we have all these Bhaktivedanta, Bhaktivaibhava courses to be able to understand that. But it's curious that Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, being the same Swayam Krishna, appears in this Kali Yuga with the message to exactly propagate the holy names. So the highest form of Krishna, which is easiest understood, is being propagated by the most merciful Lord, which is He Himself in the form of devotee. What does this tell us? That in our mission, in our Sankirtan mission, there are stages. And we've crossed the stage of opening temples. Delhi has 18, the last count, is it? Enormous temples. The TOVP temple is coming up very grandly. And we have temples in America, and you have temples in so many places. So this mission was accomplished by so much hard work with the immediate disciple of Srila Prabhupada. How much work was done in Europe, his senior devotees from Europe, from America, from being in India, being everywhere. And how much work went into that phase of the movement. But when you see that Krishna is not, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is none different from Krishna, it also implies that this mission suggests a lifestyle. There's a lifestyle connected to the mission. There's a lifestyle connected to the mission. And it's a good time to think about what is that lifestyle. If we go to the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, offer me with love and devotion what? What does he say? In English, what would he say? Offer me with devotion what? Leaf, flower, water, fruits. So if you're going to offer something with devotion to someone, you cannot put poison in that food. It's not devotion. If I love you and I give you a glass of water with so much poison, how much do I love you? But we're actually doing it every day. Every day we offer to the Lord flowers which need poison. And we smell. But they're not, usually not organic everywhere I go. It's not organic flowers. And we have to offer water to the Lord. But our water sources are being polluted. And we think, hey, that's nothing to do with me. That's a material topic. I'm a transcendentalist. What have I got to do with ecology? It's material. But how are you going to offer pure food to the Lord if you don't have pure food, pure water? You can purify it. It's not the same. All the intricate combinations of minerals that Krishna designed in the water to make your body replenished is kind of in a filter. It's kind of there. But all the balances between minerals is not there. We go and offer bhoga to the Lord. How can you guarantee it's pure? Every day. And if I tell you that India is rising in pesticides and chemical pesticides, it's incredible. We're not aware because we don't have so much other sources. But that's happening. So the big question is, what do bhaktas of Krishna who wants pure love of God have to do with mundane topics, Prabhu? Ecology, food production. Well, Prabhupada had a different idea. Prabhupada, in 68, he started his new Vrindavan farm. And he was very strong about it. I want ghee for my deities. And he says, and if you don't have money to pay the books, you can pay the books with ghee. I accept. There's evidence of that. New Vrindavan became so pushed by this idea that at one point it was producing 4,000 liters of milk a day. Young boys, they're not prepared for that operation. They're not prepared for the ethos of ahimsa dairy, what it means, the prices it has to be sold at, the amount of philosophical background, explain, to show people what it is. It's pure gold. If you have milk from protected cows, it's equal to pure gold. If you have a cowherd man, Shivaram Swami says, he's worth his weight in gold. It's so rare to find a devotee cowherd man. So now that the world is conscious about ecology, we are thinking, hey, maybe this is important. So it's a good time. It's a good time. The world is open for us to say, what is the Christian's lifestyle? We know you're happy people, you chant on the streets, you distribute books, yes, we know that. We know that in India you're powerful and you're friends with the top politicians and the important people. We know that, we've seen that. How about you were a friend of nature? How about you were a protector of cows? How about when I see a Christian devotee, I know he's a earthling, that he helps nature to serve Krishna. How about that? That will be incredible. The ecological movement is coming to the conclusion without spirituality you cannot move on. As early as the 30s, the British, usually they have these ideas, they wanted to come here and tell the Indian people, we know how to farm. We're sending our Bhakta, our our ambassador, Sir Albert Howard, to teach you all India how to farm, because you don't know farming. We know. Chemical pesticides and tractors and blah, 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 blah. So he came. And this gentleman, he was very humble. So he went to Indore, and he was put in the British Empire office, and he was going to the farmers, but he realized they have a better yield than me. How can I teach them? So because he was humble, he quit his job, and he's opened his own institute in Indore. And he made a method called the Indore system. And he wrote a book, an agricultural testament, which became the foundation of all the organic farming in the world. Steiner in Germany, Fukuwada in Japan. Anyone? Rodale in America. Now Rodale is the father of the Robert Rodale, was the one who actually implemented the organic certification for North America. But he was only about organic standards. If you read, he had 7 principles. And some of them is saying that agriculture is supposed to transform humans, develop qualities in humans, so that you be able to be a better human and be generous and be kind and not just try to exploit nature. And he's going to the point of saying, unless you have an abundant soil, you cannot be generous, because you'll always be in deficit. So if you read Roderdale's 7 principles, they're almost spiritual. He's coming almost to the conclusion that unless you're spiritual, you cannot do regeneration, because why would you do it? Why would you do it? A capitalist will have no reason to be regenerative. But then there's a question, why is big companies like Nestle speaking about regenerative agriculture? Because all the missionaries, as usual, of organic farming have made the world aware. And now they understand, hey, there's money into this, let's do it. So they made a statement, by 2030, all of the ingredients of Nestle is going to be regenerative based. That doesn't mean it's organic, just means it's keeping the soil covered, there is enough biomass for the soil, but still chemicals are there. So when we think regenerative, we have to be intelligent. Not every regenerative is organic regenerative. That was Rodale. So my point here is simple. We are Christian devotees. We want to love Krishna. We want to know Krishna. We want to offer something with devotion for the Lordships. How much is it important for us to know how to produce these things? It is very important. And if I tell, I'm a city boy, Prabhu, this is not for me, all you're telling me is I have been disconnected from my natural propensities to grow my own food, build my own house, do my own cloth, and I'm happy to be disconnected. That's not a huge statement. To be connected is what we want to be. Connected to Krishna, yoga, connected to nature. That's his Daivi energy. We should serve it to serve him. We should engage his nature to serve the Lord. What is the role of humans? Is to engage everyone in the Lord's service. So if we engage nature in the Lord's service with science, with knowledge, the world will look upon us saying, hey, look what an ecological group. The vegans wouldn't be on our case in so many places because we would already have, but still it's a good time. It's a good time because if you look at the chronology of Kali Yuga, now 500 years have passed of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mission. So his lotus is starting to open. Vrindavan, when you came here, you first Prabhupada disciples, not many people chanted Hare Krishna on the roads. Now every little shop you go is Hare Krishna Prabhu, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. It's a common word, Hare Krishna now. And that's the work of all of you. So that part is being accomplished to a great degree. Now we need to accomplish the other part. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is none different from Swayam Bhagavan. And Krishna is the greatest ecologist. What did he do in Vrindavan? He swallowed the forest fire. A fire brigader. He swallowed it. Someone wanted to poison Jamuna. What did he do? He neutralized and banned that poisoner person. Leave my place. Okay, you can leave someplace, but not here. So Krishna is an ecologist. He's a protector of Raj. When Indra got angry and threw the rains, what did he do? He lifted Govardhan and protected all the inhabitants, the cows, and all their belongings. So, devotee care, associates care, nature care. Krishna is everything in Vraj, because in Vraj, Prabhupada says in the class of Chaitanya Charitamrita, I think it's Adi Lila 151, he's saying in Vraj, everything is spiritual. Even though they look material, they have a different connection. So I'm very cautious when I'm in Vraj, because Vraj is spiritual in many ways, and I cannot see it. My mundane eyes will put faults into everything, but I cannot see the original Vraj. So therefore, I'm very humble, and I seek your blessings that I will remain so and respectful to all the Vrajavasis and all the people who have made their home here and have adjusted to the holy Dham. So Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu does have an ecological plan. He himself counteracted the Kazi when he was saying, it's all right to kill the cow. Says, you can't kill your mother, and here's the evidence. And he's showing, through his humility, that all the energies of Krishna should be engaged in a scientific and loving way to Krishna. That's his ultimate message. Because he wants all of us to leave this place in grace, to leave this place in high consciousness of pure love of God. That's his mission. He's not looking down on material nature. He's engaging material nature to take us back home, back to Godhead. And in the last verse of this chapter, semi-last, the author concludes, and I'll conclude here. The conclusion is that Lord Chaitanya is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, the son of the King of Raj. I just want to point out, the son of the King of Raj. If we analyze the character and the qualities of the King of Raj, Krishna, and his father, Nanda Maharaj, you observe how they lived here and what were the connections through the different recipients of the mercy of Raj. The cows, Govardhan Hill, the inhabitants of Raj, the grass, and all the devotees. So I'll end here, so we perhaps take some questions or some comments or some corrections. I live to be corrected, is what Vaisheshika Prabhu says, so I adopted that. Hare Krishna.
Sorry I came late. Last time you gave class in Alachua, gave a nice description. They all were very, very enthusiastic and happy to have your class. Yet, Prabhupada often speaks about how Krishna came and played with the cowherd boys, took care of the calves and cows. In agriculture, he showed by his example the extreme importance of taking care of mother cow and growing our own food and maintaining ourselves. So this is something that Prabhupada very much, besides the philosophical Bhagavatam and the Bhaktivedanta purports and the philosophical understanding of our position, his next mission was the Varnashram, to establish a civilization, because he's saying right now people are not civilized, they're acting like animals, and because they're not following any of the Vedic or Sanatan Dharma of cow protection and agriculture, and also according to people's nature, how they're employed. So I missed pretty much your whole class, but I remembered your last class. It was very good. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Panchagoda Prabhu. Panchagoda Prabhu has been a great support of the ministry all these years. Every time I come here, he gives great support.
I'm always sure to offend him.
And one thing I can say is the Vrindavan Goshal, through all these years that I've been as a minister, has been very strictly following all the principles. And when we come here, we see things like the ratio of bulls and cows, the paka. All the cows and bulls which belong to this community are here in this community. They look very nice. And I think the next big step here is to have more land so you can have less cows here. I think that's a sensible, important aspect. Someone coming here seeing less cows in the Goshala, that's an important point. So I'd like to thank you for your hospitality. Vrindavan is definitely one of the top projects in the world. Mayapur, Vrindavan, London, New York, all these important projects needs a very special attention. And I've been following very closely Mayapur, but not so much Vrindavan. I mean, I come here sporadically, but we need to work very close together because Vrindavan is such... See, Krishna was born here. That's his Leela. So we need really to have a very important project in Sri Vrindavan Dham. Any questions? Any comments? There's a question or a comment or correction coming on this side.
Hare Krishna. You were speaking that Lord comes as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and He is most merciful to everyone. So, because of His mercy, we got opportunity to serve Him. So when we serve Him, we think about Him in so many different incarnations He comes. So when in Chaitanya Mahaprabhu He came, He gave us this holy name to chant the holy name of the Lord. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram Hare. Only by chanting this Hare Krishna Mahamantra, we can be free from all material things. Hare Krishna.
Thank you for your reflection. Thank you for your reflection. I think it's a really important reflection because it's a pendulum. As a society, either we go, it's only chanting Hare Krishna, everything else not important. Or it's this all important, chanting is a detail. So actually, in our mission, chanting is the topmost duty of all of us. There's nothing to be discussed about that. Prabhupada is very clear. Without chanting and listening the mantra, you won't be able to advance. And a very senior devotee, he challenged me. He said, so how's your sadhana? And traveling, our sadhana does become affected. I've traveled. I've done 8 global tours, and it is a big, I visited almost all our 65 farms in 30 countries. in 8 years. So that was a huge task. I mean, a huge toll on the body, on the sadhana and everything. So I told him, well, I'm chanting my rounds and I read occasionally. And he stopped me and said, you're not reading every day? And I said, well, no. Then he said, okay, your chanting might be affected by that. And I took it as an instruction of Krishna, and it's true. When I started again reading, make an effort to read consistently Prabhupada's book every day, I could see the quality of the japa just increases because my head is clear. I'm thinking this issue is so important, that is so important, but the books just clarify completely what I'm doing here, who am I and what is my contribution. And then my chanting is much more effective. So reading his book is so important to be able to chant adequately. And to chant adequately, we must have good health. So to have good health, you have to have good ingredients. So that was the point of this class, that we should understand how to produce good food so that not only the Lordship receive, but all of us. Just see how many devotees, which are senior, got serious health issues because of the traveling, the sacrifice, the way we ate. You know, we're traveling and eating in irregular times, irregular foods. People want to feed us feasts every time, every day, everywhere. So how important is a lifestyle? That's it. But thank you so much for your reflection. Oh, one more. Here.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Thank you very much, Prabhu. Prabhu, if I understood correctly, you are focusing the point of farm communities, like that? Or
beyond that, yes, but beyond that, yes, go
like
ahead.
basic it is like. But lot of like, it's like when if somebody Sankirtan devotee gives class, then he gives importance of Sankirtan. If some 24-hour Kirtan devotee comes, then he says about that. So for a journal devotee, what is it should be like a goal or focus?
Excellent. I go back to the beginning of the chapter. To make advancement in Krishna consciousness, there are 4 things you must understand. And that is right here. I'll repeat that. Maybe you, I don't know if you were here when I read this, right at the beginning. But Krishnadas Kaviraj is saying here, this chapter stresses that a devotee who wishes to advance in Krishna consciousness must have knowledge of Krishna's personal form, must understand his 3 principal energies, his pastimes, and the relationship of the living entities with him. Okay? So, any devotee can come and say, I'm doing this, Prabhu, this is so important, can't you see? I'm being an ambassador of my mission. But I'm trying to go beyond that. I'm trying to say to all of you, it's not only a question of a cause, it's an intrinsic question to Krishna devotees. That if you want to understand Krishna's relationship with his energies, you also need to understand how Krishna relates to his biological world, to the plant world, to the animal world. Why the cows have such a preeminence in the animal kingdom? Why did he stress so much the cow, not the elephant or the horse or the giraffe or the rats? Everybody has a function in the universe. Why is he stressing the cow? So if you understand that it's not only a religious sentiment of Hindus, but it's actually a science behind where the cows hold a Shakti which can nurture our society. Prabhupada stressed, if you drink milk, you nourish your finer tissues of the brain. So that's not a department promotion. It's a statement by our founder Acharya, which is stated in our Shastra. And if you study deeper, you see that 60% of our brain is made of a molecule called DHA, amino acid, a fatty acid, and that's present in the milk. But the cow cannot produce this fatty acid, DHA. So where does it come from? It comes from the tips of grasses that they chew. So by photosynthesis, this amino acid is processed, they chew it, it goes into the milk, you drink the milk, you get your finer tissues nourished. So it's not a question of being an ambassador of farm communities. Prabhupada stressed farm communities. Why? Because if you are in a place where your economy is solved in a simple way, where your social dealings and raising children is solved in a simple way, where feeding the Brahmanas is solved in a simple way, where protecting the elderly is solved in a simple way. You have enough food. If someone is a retired person, what's the problem feeding one more? There's enough people to help him when he needs help. If you talk about the women, it's so nice to protect them in a community because they have friends. It's so nice to be together, do Sangha service together, isn't it? I see the Matajis doing malas and organizing the flower for the Guru Puja. They're so happy. They seem happy. Their demeanor seems happy. They're doing service together. They have friendship. It's right there. So in a community, it's easy to do that. If you're in New York, you have to travel 18, 20, 30, 40, 50 kilometers to go to the temple. You're already stressed by the time you arrive at the temple, and someone else is stressed because they had to work 40 hours. So when you meet together, it's a lot of stress until you come to the point of doing your mala for the Lord. So farm communities afford a structure which is simple. Remember, simple is the topmost sophistication. That is Leonardo da Vinci. Surabhi Prabhuji.
A couple questions about that with, they know that the alkaline is much better for your system than the acid, and it's like butter is slightly acidic, but ghee is high alkaline, so the ghee is much better. And the grass-fed animals, the milk is much better than the grains, but yet especially in the West, the much greater percentage people buy butter, not ghee. They don't even know what it is in many stores. And very little of the milk. Can you get the same things from the grain-fed milk, or is it from the grain-fed milk? Do you get the same things, or is it's much better from the grass?
So you're asking me a technical question about the constitution of butter and ghee and grain-fed and grass-fed, if I understood correctly. Your question is an important question because it's not only responding your technical question which will clarify our doubt. We as a society right now need a roadmap. Why ghee is important? So many people say any milk product is not good for you anymore. So what is the roadmap? We need a roadmap. And that roadmap needs to be educated so we understand. For example, Prabhupada was very strong about cooking with ghee. And there are systems, the traditional for making ghee from fermentation, which makes a very healthy ghee. You can see by the color, by the aroma, by the texture. But there are also so many businessmen making money from just propaganda. So we need to be educated to be able to get the right ingredients. Now, just telling you, I know an Amish person. You know Amish? The Amish, the people from America, they wear black clothes. They wear different clothes. And they're very interesting people. When you look from outside, they look to be aliens. When you go inside, you see they really think a lot. They're very connected. And they said one thing to me. One specific friend in Pennsylvania, he has shifted from grains to grass-fed fully. And all he does is pasture management now. He doesn't do anything else. And he says, once I shifted from grains to grass, all my friends said I was crazy because that's the standard. We have to give grains to the cows. And it's true, it is a tradition, it works, even back to Krishna's time. Now, the grass-fed is giving him something which he was not getting before. And what was that? The cows are trampling over the grass, and they're doing this fast. And all the biomass is about this thick. It creates a protection for Mother Earth. So it is cool. His soil is very cold. And being cold and wet, all the bacteria can be present there. And because it's wet and there's bacteria, they are the digestion, they are the stomach of the soil. So all the nutrition goes back to the soil. What happens? It goes back to the grass. His milk was never better than now. He says, I'm getting the most, I don't worry about how much milk I get, I just worry about pasture management. That is this Amish person. So answering your question, both schools are there. You get champions in both schools. But people who are doing grass-fed are getting good results if they're doing scientifically. So for us devotees, it can be very bewildering to know the whole science and to know where to get from. So many people say so many things. What do I believe in? I'll give you a small, maybe tip as a consumer. The best place to start is where we are. The next best place to be is one step ahead. Meaning, if you're just buying your grocery here, is there any farmer around who I know is a little better than what I'm getting here? Until you get your gold standard. For me, that's what's worked. With milk, with vegetables, with everything. To be radical is very difficult. It's almost impossible to go from this to that. So I'm proposing to the institution a transition. We just approved a law where chemical pesticides is not allowed in ISKCON. Pesticides, no. Prabhupada was against, no. Chemical fertilizers, we gave a moratorium. Okay, many projects are using, continue using until a certain time, then make a proposal to change. And we'll work on that. So education is the point, Prabhu, and we have to be educated. And I have to tell you that there's so much propaganda because today's mercantile class works on propaganda. The whole business is to put desires into us so we'll be consumers, obedient consumers. Not obedient to them, but obedient to our desires. So their only job is to inject desires, and we are obedient to the desires. So we have to be very cautious as an institution to know what is good for our children, what is good for our communities. And that's why farm community is helpful, because everything gets sorted in one place. Okay? On that note, I'll end here, and I'd like to be very grateful to all of you for the reception, for the attention. I know it's a topic that we don't discuss often, but I try to bring it up every time I can. Hare Krishna. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu ki. Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita ki. Gaura Premananda.